Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Shane here from the Evolution of Fatherhood. I wanted to talk to you today about a sensitive topic. It's about mental illness. We have the great and amazing Graham Abbott coming on, who is kicking off a sponsorship deal with the Indonesian government to create a helpline for Indonesians and well, anybody that's in Indonesia actually, to ring up and get some support for any issues related or not related to mental health. And I thought to myself, with this powerhouse coming on as a guest this week onto the Evolution of Fatherhood community call, I thought I went piecing through my stories around mental health, and I got to a point where I realized there's a story that I've never told. And there's a story that's it was kind of like our family secret, but it wasn't, because we didn't really talk about it being a secret. But it was more about saving face. No, it was more about like how we would prepare ourselves as a family to the situation that we found ourselves in. And it's about my little brother. And not many people know that I grew up with a mentally handicapped brother. He was diagnosed with a cyst in his brain the size of a regular man's fist, and it sat right in the back of his head. But it caused him to have like a Groundhog Day situation where he would, the left side of the brain didn't tell his right side of the brain what was going on. So there was no like recourse of memory where most of us can, have a conversation and then, repeat back what we've just heard to confirm that's exactly what we heard, and have an understanding of, the concept of having a conversation. Now, his brain wouldn't let him do that. So he was kind of Groundhog Day every day. So I remember when he was young, and I think he must have been maybe 2 or 3, and he went into hospital. They took him into hospital. I think he had an unusually big head, which was, part of the reason, right? And I remember going to the hospital and visiting him, but I remember the mood of the hospital visit. And it was like, they've found what it was, so that was great. And now they know that they can't, it's something that's inoperable, right? Like it's that part of his brain where you just don't go unless you mess things up badly. So I couldn't imagine how traumatized my parents would have been at that time, right, when that happened. And I didn't realize until I became a parent, or maybe even further, when I start to realize now, like as a older person, to understand how really, how much empathy I have for my mother and father, and being their third son, and how he was, in the situation where it was not going to be fixed. However, the way we dealt with it as a family was this was always a temporary thing. We're going to treat him normally, and then he's going to know normal. I remember him being 3 or 4 years old, and he just bit all the time. Like he would bite us. So he wouldn't be able to communicate very well. So he would, instead of him like being able to say like, you guys are pissing me off, he would just say, I'm going to bite you, right? He wouldn't even say that. He would just come and bite you. And, if you're playing on the ground and he wanted your toy, he would just come and bite you, right? If he was happy, if he's found something that he was enjoying on the TV screen or something, he'd just turn around and bite you. And that was his way of communicating for a little while. So, I mean, it's funny now, but we were petrified as kids. Like it really scared us a little bit, right? And I remember my brother and I were like, we were like ready to run as soon as like, or holding his forehead away from us so that he couldn't get to us, and having a little vampire. But there was only like little, it wasn't tearing of flesh, and it wasn't like bruising. It was like a kind of a love bite. It was more like a milk teeth bite, right? Like we just like, get our attention kind of bite. So, I remember being woken up, like he wanted me to wake up so he could play with him. And he was like, he bit me to wake me up. So it's kind of, that was his way, right? So we became fond of him in that, and you know, and I remember like he was, you know, maybe 6, and would that be, yeah, no, I was going to be a little bit older than that, maybe 7 or 8, and anyway, I'm like saying, you know, he would say to me, "What are you doing today, Shane?" And I'd like say, "Okay, mate, I'm going to go to work, and then when I come home, I'm going to teach you how to ride on my motorbike, right? My dirt bike." And he's like, "Oh, sweet, great. And he'll come over, and later on he'll go, "Hey, Shane, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to come home, and I'm going to teach you to ride that motorbike." And he's going, "Oh, sweet, awesome, I love that," right? You know. And then you know, just before he'd go to bed, I'd walk into his room and I'd say, "Hey, mate, what are you doing tomorrow?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know." And I'd say, "Hey, would you like to come and learn the motorbike after I learn how to ride that motorbike after I get home from work?" You know, "Yeah, that'd be great." And then, you know, obviously he would forget in the morning as well that we had that conversation. But he looked normal. He would talk to you, but he never remembered. He couldn't remember anything, and it was kind of like you could anticipate that he wouldn't, right? So, but we still brought him up as normal, right? I remember early on when he's first come home, and my dad was like, my dad didn't talk to us about, or talk to me about issues like, you know, this is a problem, we need to fix it, right? His way was like this. It was like, we had this music in the bathroom, like we had a tape deck where you could, you know, record the radio. And I remember we could listen to songs on the radio. We could listen to, you know, music that had been recorded, just by playing play on the music thing. And then I remember it was like singing, you know, "He ain't Evie, he's my brother," and I'm like, you know, walking around and singing that. And then my dad said, "Hey, do you know what that song means?" And he explained to me what it was about, you know, being, you know, that we should look after each other as humans, and it's like this movement of, you know, that we need to be caring, and, you know, people mean something, you know, but to me it was kind of like, it took on a literal sense, because my mind went straight to, he's my brother, right? So I'm going to have to carry him through life, like he's going to be a part of that. So this whole like mental health thing was a myth. He was never going to recover, and he was never going to, he's going to survive, he's going to do his way. But he had no, he couldn't, it wasn't a mental health issue. It was a mental handicap issue. However, I was always led to believe that it was a mental health issue, right? So we would like always actively doing things to try and make it better for him. Now, he became amazing. Like we had so many things that we did. You know, I remember, you know, like you know, just having those conversations with him and playing with him around Groundhog Day, like, you know, just stories, and just reminding him about something that he really enjoyed, right? You know, he might be something like he would ride down and jump the jump, and then, you know, he would, because he did everything normally, like he would hop on a push bike and ride and jump on jumps. We'd make jumps in the backyard and he'd jump it, and then I'd remind him the next day, "I remember that jump you did yesterday?" And he goes, "No." And I'll go, yeah, you jumped a big jump yesterday." And he was like, "Oh, cool," you know, like I'm red hot, right? And we played football in the backyard with him, so we did rough him up a bit. We played rugby, and he loved it. We had like a big patch of like buffalo grass where it was really soft to land on. And because we loved to play a bit of rugby league, we would tackle each other in the backyard. But that was some of his most fondest memories. And I remember like the time when he became old enough, and we enrolled him into his own team, right? So he never could remember plays. He never knew what position he was playing in. So I mean, this is family trying to love him the most and bring him up as normal as possible, right? And we got him into a team, and you know, within the first couple of, you know, games, they've just put him out on the wing, right? Like he doesn't know anything but grab the ball and run towards the try line. And so every time he would get on the wing, he would just, like, you know, a lot of the times he'd just get bungled out over the sideline, because there was this he just didn't stop. He just went straight for the try line. He didn't have a sidestep. He didn't try and, pass the ball to anyone. He would just run straight down the try line and try and score, which was hilarious. But it was also like, sometimes he pulled it off, right? Like, sometimes he just did, by the grace, he got through and scored tries, and he became renowned for that, right? Like, just grabbing the ball and running. And there was nothing wrong with him in a sense, his physical side of his body. He was muscly. He was, tall enough. He was like, he wasn't, there was nothing deformed about him in his physical look, but he had a physical ailment, which was this cyst in his brain that never went away. So, I mean, I remember the day he got his driver's license. He actually got to the point where he got his own driver's license, and he went, and I remember how proud the family was when we saw him coming in with his driver's license, and how proud, because he just loved us. He just looked up to us. I mean, it was good that he stopped biting after, when he was 9 or 10. But anyway, he loved us in a sense that he would like, he would show his emotions and not really realize why he was showing his emotions, right? And it's kind of like a blankness to his emotional giving. And he got a girlfriend, and he was like, in a situation, and we were all so proud of him. He got himself a car, bought himself a car. He was driving up and down the coast from Brisbane to the Gold Coast all the time, or down to Byron Bay where we lived. And it was kind of really, really an amazing time for him, and and that's, to me, what the difference between, even when there's a mental handicap and that they're going to live with that for the rest of their lives, there's still this savior, right? Where we might think it's about, this situation that will never go away. But people, we have, especially us kids, we have a very resilient way of making not normal. And he's a classic example of that, because he got so, close to normality than any other person that I've seen with the same situation. Well, not that I've seen many. It was very rare to have this condition where, and a lot of people that have that condition don't have it as severe as him as well. So you don't know that they have it and they can function properly. But it was just one of those things where it became our normal. But, that is another reason why there's this compassion or sensitivity that I have from my dad being, not being able to explain how he's feeling, and uses the music to teach me things. And then, the situation with my brother and his, what he's going through, and then, all the rest of us. But it was like, I think it was, it was kind of, when I look back at it as a gift. I mean, like my brother is still out there. He's still doing his thing, and doing his best, and life is a challenge for him, but he is doing his best to overcome his handicap, right? But it's not the same as having a mental illness where something has happened to put you in a situation where you need to recover from a trauma or something that's happened to you in your life. So I just wanted to bring that attention, because it's an important topic for me, and I'm so glad that I get to talk about it, because I love him so much, and just by the nature of the situation, we didn't talk about it, right? We didn't talk about it outside our family. We wouldn't. I mean, even our own families were kind of like, not that, willing to come and be part of our family, because we had, these things that were going on in our family dynamic that, was challenging, and whether or not they felt like they needed that or they wanted that, it didn't happen. So it kind of, you have to find your own resources, and that's the way we did. And my dad and mum were amazing. They we had a hubby farm. I remember, poor little Dennis getting chased by the geese, because he was like, he was running around naked as usual, and the little geese were like all chasing him. Like, it was just funny. And there was, to create that environment where, like, you've got, Shetland ponies and geese and guinea fowls and chooks and cats and dogs and, animals, and all the different exotic things that you could imagine just in one little hobby farm, and all us kids are just interacting with them every day. It created our new normal, right? We would make bow and arrows out of trees, and we'd have sword fights and play rugby league, play State of Origin, all the stuff that we did because we enjoyed it, right? That was our way of coping with the situation, and we made the best. And that's what kids do. They make the best of the situation. And yeah, and I think that's all I got to say, because it was one of those things, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I did this story service. I'm it's a toughie, but I believe that this week we will try and find some answers with some AI tools that may be able to help us get more support for for people that are like my brother Dennis. Maybe it's just like a constant reminder. Maybe neural net will come in where we can overlay some neural stuff for people like him that can function normally with a bypass mechanism. I'm not sure, but it's like I'm excited about it. And that's one of the things that I'm excited about is this whole AI and how it's going to interact with the challenges that we are faced with, right? Because that's the bottom line. We've got challenges out there, and having AI is going to speed up the process of healing, or speed up the process of solving these problems, right? So if we've got an AI system that can help people remember when they can't remember, it's important, I think, that we develop that, right? And if it develops faster than it would have normally because we've got AI, I think it's going to be a good thing. So yeah, I would have loved to see my little brother with a Neuralink or something that could help him with AI that would be built into his his world and how he can interact with it. And he may still, I don't know where he's at and all that sort of stuff with I also know that he's getting on to 50 now, and I think that that one of these things will happen one day where this will be normal, where you have an ailment that is very common with differing results, and we have a tool that's been developed, a technology that can balance it out and make it even for everyone. So yeah, tell me your thoughts. What do you think? Did I do a good job? I don't know. But I know it's a story that needs to be told, and I'm happy to tell it because of it's I know that the support is coming. I know that there's tech that's being developed. And it's probably even being developed already. It just hasn't come to the market yet, because I know that the AI that we see is only a tip of the iceberg of what's actually out there. The tip of the iceberg is what we see, that we know that's AI at the moment. So anyway, let me know what you think, and I will catch up with you. And I hope you enjoy this week's call. It's a Evolution of Fatherhood community call, 3 p.m. Singapore time, with the amazing Graham Abbott, and we're going to have a special guest. Slade Hoare is coming back to give us an update on this young man's progress with his pathway to manhood, and his ability to give advice back to young men that are going through the process that he's just been through. So anyway, love you all, take care, and I'll see you soon.